Hi, everybody. I'm back again. Starting to get the hang of this a little bit, although I'm having a little trouble with my computer. Also, I've got an iPad and I cannot get it to hook into my Wi Fi. If anybody's got any ideas, leave me a message. Um, I have to tell you, I've been doing some things here since January. I always save a big project for the first of the year. So I've been making curtains. You can see them back in the background behind me. And I'm making them out of navy blue and white sheets and color blocking them. And it's actually turning out quite well. I'm quite proud of myself. And also, I like them. Okay, I have something kind of important to share with you guys. Uh, Years ago, decades ago, in the early '60s, I came down with Epstein-Barr. At that time, they didn't know what it was, and they didn't have a test for it. And at that time, my brother-in-law was my doctor. So I went to him and I said, "You got to help me. I cannot stay awake over 2 hours at a time." And I had three small children. I said, "So you really, I need some help here." So I went and he gave me a shot of calcium intravenously in my arm. And I went home, went to bed that night, got up the next morning, scrubbed and waxed all my floors, washed all my windows, and cleaned out all the dresser drawers. So you get the idea that that shot of calcium did something. Epstein-Barr, though, never goes away, and you keep having reoccurring episodes of it. So over the years, I'd have another episode, and I'd go back to Larry, he was my brother-in-law, and he'd give me a shot of calcium, and I'd be fine for a while. Uh, And I did find an article, a newspaper article that said stress eats up the calcium in your system. And I was always under a lot of stress. So consequently, I kept going in and out of these. Well, then I divorced my husband and excuse me. So I divorced my husband. So Larry was no longer my brother-in-law. And I just wasn't real comfortable with, you know, going to see him. So I'd go to other doctors when I didn't feel good, and they would say, "The calcium had nothing to do with you feeling better, and it's all in your head, and you're crazy." So I I went till like the early '90s, I think, and it was finally diagnosed. So, but I had already started what I did after Larry wasn't my doctor anymore. I would start taking calcium uh, orally rather than getting a shot. And at any rate, once it was diagnosed, my daughter, who happens to be a pharmacist, went to a seminar. And while she was there, she picked up a paper on the immune system and brought it to me. So I'm reading through this paper. And pretty soon I get to this one part and it says, the nonspecific immune system, which fights tumors and viral diseases, works on a calcium dependent mechanism. So I called Larry and I said, "I know why the calcium works." He said, "What have you got?" So I told him, and he said, "Send me all your paperwork on it." Because I did have copies of the article in the medical paper that my daughter brought me. And I also had it outlined as to how to take the calcium, because when you take calcium, you also have to take half as, like if you're taking 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day, then you have to take 400 milligrams of magnesium and 400 international units of vitamin D in order for everything to absorb the way it should. At any rate, over the years, because at that time I was still working, I would run across people who had Epstein-Barr or chronic fatigue or mononucleosis. And I kept, in fact, I still have it on my computer, and I just print it off and give it to them and say, "Do this." And within 3 weeks, they would be better. It just, and I had a doctor years later say to me, "What is your success rate with this calcium?" And I said, "You know what? Nobody's ever asked me that before. But now that you do ask, it's 100%. Everybody that I've given this information to has pulled themselves out of either whether it be chronic fatigue, mono, or Epstein-Barr within 3 weeks, if they're taking it orally. If they can get their doctor to give them a shot, then it's overnight." So at any rate, for what it's worth, if you know anybody who has Epstein-Barr, chronic fatigue, or mono, it's calcium. And I don't want to hear anything about I'm not a doctor, so I shouldn't be, because the thing is, if I'm wrong, the calcium won't hurt you. In fact, it will help you, particularly women. If you think of breast tumors, if you have high levels of calcium and that the nonspecific immune system fights tumors, then it's going to help. And also, as far as having kidney stones, and I have articles to back all this up. They did a study at Harvard decades ago, then they found that people with the most calcium in their system had the least kidney stones. So that kind of refutes that. And plus, I've been taking it over the years in pretty high doses. Also, in New Zealand, they did a study, and again, this is a long, decades ago, where they took girls from puberty to menopause and made sure that they were taking the 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day. And they found they had 70% less osteoporosis once they reached menopause. So that's a considerable statistic, 70% less. So the calcium won't hurt you. And if anyone has had Epstein-Barr or mono or chronic fatigue, it can be debilitating. And it makes it I know when I was so sick in the early 60s, I just couldn't cope with anything. I mean, if somebody pulled in front of me, I was like, hey, because I was so weak and tired that my coping mechanisms were at zero. And plus it was tough. Like with my kids, I'd get them up in the morning and I'd get them fed and I'd get them dressed. And then I'd lay down on the couch and say, now you have to play right here by the couch. So that I was sleeping, but it was mommy sleep and they were close. So if anything happened, I would hear them. So anyway, for what it's worth, yes, absolutely try it. And ladies, you should be taking that kind of calcium anyway. The only thing I will say, here's the one caveat. As far as the magnesium's concerned, take that separately. I know GNC sells calcium with half as much magnesium in it. The problem with that is the magnesium can cause loose bowels. So if you take it separately from the calcium, if you do find yourself with that problem, you can adjust the magnesium so that you don't have, you're not going to the bathroom all the time, which can be really inconvenient, especially if you're working. I got to tell you something funny that happened, though. My daughters and I and their significant others, we went to Andiamo's to see a live show. And I was just getting over a respiratory thing that I'd had. And I still had the cough. So I started to cough and I knew you're disturbing people. You don't want to do that. So I kind of wandered away from where the people were all trying to watch the show. And my one daughter followed me and she gave me a capsule and she said, here, this is for a cough. Well, I didn't know you weren't supposed to chew it. So I chewed it. And, oh boy, did that taste awful. At any rate, I chewed it, but when I did, my mouth got numb. So then I'm thinking, could this be a problem? I mean, if my throat gets numb, I mean, is this? So I pull my daughter so that I can talk to her without disturbing people. And I said, whatever that was that you gave me, it made my tongue numb and the inside of my mouth numb. And I said, so if I fall over, it means I can't breathe, and yell, EpiPen, EpiPen. So we got kind of a good laugh out of it. And of course, nothing happened. Pretty soon the feeling came back in my mouth, but I could see why it would stop you from coughing, because if it numbed your throat a little bit, you wouldn't have that tickle. At any rate, it was kind of funny, but I did manage to get over it, and we had a good time, saw a good show. They actually do a pretty good job there at Andiamo's. And I just went and got a haircut. You see, it's really short, but I'm losing my hair. And that's part of getting old. I didn't know that. Nobody ever told me that before. When you get older, you don't grow hair. You don't have to shave under your arms. You don't have to shave your legs. You don't grow hair anymore. Not like you used to. So it's so funny. She always does me with this really butch looking haircut. And I do have some wigs. So I took a wig and I thought, well, I want to go grocery shopping after I get my haircut. So I'll put the wig on. Well, she had kind of set it up, and I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. So anyway, I went on, did my shopping, and, putsied on, talked to people, came home and looked in the mirror and went, oh God, that looks awful. I should have put the wig on. But I have messed with it since then. So I've got it a little bit more to my liking. I went there one time, though, and I got a haircut. I won't say where, but I kid you not. And I was just ready to go up north, pulling my trailer and go up to Lake Superior. And I couldn't do anything with it was the worst haircut I've had in my whole life. Now, when you're 82 and it's the worst haircut you've had in your whole life, man, that's a bad haircut. Because at 82, you've had a lot of haircuts. And when I was a little girl, I always wanted long hair. And my hair was just too thin, too fine. I had more hair. I had a lot more hair, but my hair was real fine. And so when it got long, it just got stringy looking and everything. And so Mom would cut it off and I would cry. But when I got older and could do it myself and make my own decisions, I looked at it and I went, now I know why she did that. It really does look like crap. So if anybody knows, I would really like to be able to turn this camera around like you can on an iPad. I'm gonna have to play with that and see if it can be done, because I would like to do that so that I can show you. My daughter and I live with my daughter. I live in her walkout basement. It's a really nice little apartment, though. Right behind, do this, is a fireplace, a gas fireplace, because it gets a little chilly down here. And that gives me that little extra warmth. But today is really pretty chilly, but the sun is shining. So, but you can see, here's my curtain, the color black curtains. I feel like Julie Andrews, and she whiskers on kittens and blue satin sashes. Yeah, I used to be able to sing. I can't sing anymore. That's another thing that happens when you get old. Your voice changes. But she takes the yardage off the drapes, and I didn't do that. But I went to get some material to make drapes or to buy drapes. We were talking like $1,000. Well, I'm old and I can't go out and do so. Consequently, I bought some sheets. So those curtains that you see are made of navy blue and white sheets. See if I can give you an idea of Yes, I can. It's not giving much of a look at behind. So I'm gonna really keep trying to see it by, get my iPad. I've never had trouble with that iPad before. I don't use it a lot, but I've never had trouble with it before where I couldn't hook it into the Wi-Fi. But we changed the Wi-Fi here. We went from one company to another. And for some reason, I'm having trouble getting the iPad to do that. So that's be some of that. That's where I'm working on the curtain. So there's an iron board out there. And it's taken so long. Color blocking really does take time. So I'll be happy when that's done because then I can take down the ironing board and the table and all that because it's been up for a couple months while I did this. And also, I have a sliding glass door wall, and we feed the deer. So you look out there and three times a day, and we have a bird feeder, and it's really cool because you get to see the deer, and they look at me. I mean, they're not real tame, and I don't want them to be. I want them to be afraid of people, because everybody isn't nice, and doesn't treat animals and people and whatever they should be treated. So, and you got to see it, and you really can't tell the picture behind me, but it's a picture of a window in like a French cafe, like if you were sitting in the cafe looking out the window. It's one of my favorites. And I believe in reincarnation because that's where the evidence is. I don't believe in anything I can't back up with history and facts and evidence. And I also know that I lived a life in France, so it's kind of like one of my favorites. I keep it around. But hopefully I can get my iPad so that when we're doing this kind of stuff, we can keep doing it. So, but I'm going to let you go. I've imparted my little information on the Epstein-Barr thing for you today, and I'm really excited about being able to get this information out to more people. So if you like this, subscribe, and that way you won't miss any of our little confabs. Not that it's all that awe-inspiring, but you never know. Something might just fit. And you already know that I wrote the book called The Shame and the Shining, available on Amazon, about multiple personality disorder. And I don't even consider it a disorder, actually. And a lot of therapists don't. It's an order, and it really does enable you to deal with trauma. Now, that being said, I find it fascinating what the mind can do. And as we talk more, and if you do read the book and you have questions, and I will be getting more and more into how the memories came back, because they came back spontaneously. There's nobody was feeding me any memories. This came back spontaneously. And I say that my guides and my gods gave me the memories. They gave it back to me. And then when they came back, I mentioned it to a family member who said, "Oh yeah, that's what happened to you," and substantiated things as I remembered them, because she knew all of it. That's another story too, because she got that from my mother. My mother knew it, and she helped take care of my mother while my mother was dying. And as a consequence of that, she knew all the secrets and that mom had, and mom had told her. So anyway, again, going back to the fact that if anybody tries to tell you that there's no such thing as a repressed memory, there is. I know it happened to me. And it happened to me because I did split into the other personality that would take care of the sex part. And then I could keep the other part of me intact. And as far as the other part of me was concerned, that couldn't have happened. It wouldn't happen to me. But in fact, it did. So, and if you read the book, we'll be talking. And you want to question it, we can. I don't want to get into too much of the book because I'd like to have you read it. Because if you read it, there's a sequence, and there's more detail, and that way, then if there's a question, we can delve into it from there. But the fact that I didn't remember anything until I was in my 50s. Now, there were odd bits of information that I did remember. In fact, I remember sitting in a high chair. So I actually remembered a lot of stuff from when I was quite young, but not the facts. So anyway, I am going to sign off for now. The first time I did this, the whole thing signed me off without me knowing it. I knew that it had ended. I just didn't know why. And I came back in and it ended up being two things instead of just one. So, but I'm hoping to hear from people. I'm hoping to make this a fun thing. Share stories. Again, I just want to make this the happiness channel, the place you go where you don't allow past trauma to define you, your life, because your trauma is not who you are, it's what happened to you, and you can choose to keep it at bay and enjoy your life. And I do enjoy my life. My two girls are fun and funny, and I seem to still be important in their lives. So that's a real added bonus, because I tell you what, you get to be 82, and it's really kind of cool in a way, but in a way you want to punch somebody sometimes. You'll be right in the middle of a story or talking about something, and whoever you're talking to will just turn away and start talking to somebody else. For some reason, it just doesn't seem to be real important to finish. But you never stop learning. So you keep going and you learn to recognize the signs. And if you sense that somebody's really not interested in what you have to say, you just back off. You don't do that. So anyhow, and if I get my iPad going, then I can show you outside and we can watch the spring come in, because that's always fun. And I just put some more food up for the birds. So there's more birds out there. We have bluebirds too. And if I can figure out how to turn this camera around on the laptop, but I don't think it does that. Oh well, I'll work on it. So you guys have a great, wonderful day. Subscribe to this. Let me know what's going on with you. Let's talk about some of it. And we'll go from there. I'm finding myself being very upset about a few things but they're things that I don't actually want to get into on here, like politics or religion. So I'm trying to keep this light. But it's tempting not to say, did you see this? And do you realize what this means? So hopefully we can veer away from that. But okay, have a great day. And we'll talk to you real soon again. And leave a comments, chat with me. And you can chat with me while I'm on here. I apparently see I'm kind of new to this, so we're gonna have to maybe you know stuff I don't. So oops, oops. Okay, well I clicked on something that it said something about learning, remember how to welcome to live chat. Um, but it took me off here, so won't do that again. Okay, have a great day. Think spring. I got daffodils and tulips coming up. So think spring. If we all think spring, maybe we can influence Mother Nature. You think? Bye.